The purpose of a stocktake is to identify items that are missing, check that items have been shelved correctly, correct the status of items when necessary. For example, items that were previously missing and have since been reshelved, or items that have been returned to the shelf without first going through the circulation desk and therefore have a status of on loan. A stocktake also allows us to get an accurate picture of losses for reporting purposes, and it helps us to identify items that can be removed from the collection so that the Oliver system reflects exactly what is in the library. There is a basic stocktake workflow that we will cover in more detail. Before you begin, there are some prerequisites that should be met. Then, you add the stocktake and add sections to the stocktake. Barcodes are imported or scanned into each section and the sections are processed. After processing the sections, errors and messages are reviewed and you can take the necessary steps to fix the errors where possible. This could mean scanning more barcodes into the sections, processing the sections again, and reviewing errors again. When you have scanned in as many barcodes as possible and are comfortable with the stocktake messages you are getting, you should run the stocktake summary report. If you are satisfied with the figures in the stocktake summary report, the stocktake can be finalized. If you are not comfortable with the figures in the report, you should investigate and take the steps required to resolve any issues before finalizing. After finalizing the stocktake, you can rerun the stocktake summary report for completion. Stocktake prerequisites include checking that your Oliver V5 system is up to date, disabling Library of Congress classification sorting if necessary, setting the update copies derived fields process to run in housekeeping overnight prior to beginning the stocktake, and checking that the stocktake finalization process is enabled in housekeeping. We highly recommend that you ensure your Oliver system is on the latest available release before commencing a stocktake. The latest release information is displayed in the Oliver V5 Community Portal homepage. You can check this against your system by navigating to the Management About page in Oliver. If your Oliver system is hosted with SoftLink, then it will be on the latest available release. Parameter 2033, Support Library of Congress Classification Sorting, should be set to no if your library does not use the Library of Congress classification system. Most schools and public libraries use the Dewey Decimal System, and only the larger academic libraries might use the Library of Congress classification system. If your library uses Dewey Decimal classifications with numbers after the suffix, you will need to set parameter 2033 to no, so that Dewey Decimal sorting is used for classifications with numbers in the suffix. Numbers are sometimes added after the suffix for additional information such as the year edition, a volume number, a copy number, or series and volume information. Setting parameter 2033 to no will ensure that items scanned out of order will be picked up correctly if you answer yes to the processing question, did you scan in shelf order? The parameter can be checked and updated by navigating to Management Parameters. Search for the parameter by entering 2033 into the search box and clicking Search. Click to Edit and scroll down to the parameter and change the value field to no. Note the message in red. If you change this parameter, you need to set the Update Copies Derived field process to run in the next scheduled housekeeping process. Click Save to save the changes. As per the message we saw when changing parameter 2033, the next thing to do is set the Update Copies Derived fields process to run in housekeeping. This process will update the system used sortable classification field on the copy record. The sortable classification field is used by the Stocktake when determining whether items have been shelved in the wrong order, and also when it calculates what is to be included in a particular Stocktake section. The process is run overnight as part of the housekeeping because it is a resource-intensive process and places a heavy load on the server. It is therefore important to do this at least 1 day prior to starting the Stocktake. The update copies derived fields process has to be run if you were required to change the support Library of Congress classification sorting parameter. However, if at all possible, we recommend running this housekeeping process prior to a Stocktake regardless. Historically, the sortable classifications were not always updated if copy classifications were changed in bulk using global change. Running this process will help to avoid potential problems during the Stocktake. To set the process to run in housekeeping, navigate to System Housekeeping and click the Edit button. Scroll to the process called Update Copies Derived Fields, which is towards the bottom of the page. Tick the checkbox. This takes us to the final prerequisite, which is to make sure that the Stocktake finalization process is set to run in housekeeping. Scroll back up the page and check if the Stocktake finalization process is ticked. Save the changes in housekeeping. When you click Finalize on a Stocktake section, the finalization request is submitted. The pending finalization will only be processed if the Stocktake finalization checkbox has been ticked. You could carry out this step later, but probably best to do it with the prerequisites so that you don't forget. After the prerequisite steps have been met, you are ready to start the Stocktake. Before you add the Stocktake to Oliver, you need to mentally decide what portion of the library you plan to Stocktake. This could be the entire library, an entire branch, a single collection, or a location range within a collection. The portion you Stocktake will depend on the size of your library and the amount of time you have for the Stocktake. There is no set time limit for completing a Stocktake, but for best results, we recommend you complete it as soon as possible after commencement. You do not need to stop circulating while you Stocktake. A report from Management Statistics will give you an idea of the number of copies in your library and how this is split by branch and collection. Navigate to Management Statistics, leave the start and end dates as they are. I will run the report against all branches to demonstrate. However, you may already know you are only planning to Stocktake one branch and could then select that required branch. Scroll to the Copies field and select Total Record Count and click Next. Set the first grouping to Branch, the second grouping to Collection, and the third grouping to Status. You then click Next. The first column on the screen shows the branch, the second column shows the collections within the branch, and the third column shows us a breakdown by status of the copies for the collection and the branch. And the fourth column shows the number of copies for each status in the collection and branch. There is a subtotal showing total copies per collection, a subtotal showing total copies per branch, and a grand total showing total copies across all branches. This information might help you when you are deciding what sections you need for your Stocktake. The report cannot be printed. However, if you would like to print it out, you can highlight the text and copy and paste it into Excel. Click to the left of the statistical reporting at the top of the page. Scroll to the end of the report holding down the Shift key on your keyboard, and then click to the right of the grand total figure at the bottom of the report. Right-click on the highlighted text and select Copy. You then open Excel and press Ctrl and V to paste the copied data into Excel. You can then tidy up the report in Excel. In this webinar, I plan to perform a stocktake of the junior branch that has 9 collections and 1,051 copies. The first step of the stocktake is to create a stocktake and add sections to the stocktake. You have some options here. You can add one stocktake with multiple sections, for example, a section for each collection or a classification range within a collection. Another option you have is to add a stocktake for each section you plan to stocktake, for example, one stocktake with one section per collection. For reporting purposes and making year-on-year comparisons, we recommend you try to keep stocktake structures the same where possible. On this slide, you can see that comparing a stocktake summary report from a stocktake with the same sections as the previous stocktake shows figures that make more sense than trying to compare a stocktake with only one of the sections from the previous stocktake. You can certainly add new sections to the stocktake if you have added more collections to the catalogue, but try to keep the structure as close as possible so that you are comparing apples with apples. Navigate to Cataloguing Stocktake. A list of all previous stocktakes are displayed on the page. The Browse list shows the name of the stocktake and the number of sections finalised out of the total number of sections in the stocktake. The end date displays the finalised date of the most recently finalised section for the stocktake. We can see that the 2017 Junior School Stocktake was started, but no sections were finalised. The last fully finalised stocktake was completed in 2015. When you add sections to a stocktake, you can specify a previous stocktake for comparison. It is best to compare against finalised sections only. However, if you are sure that scanning was completed on a previous section that is unfinalised, you may still be able to select the stocktake as the previous stocktake for the section. It is not recommended that you finalise the previous stocktake now, as this is likely to cause problems. For example, items may have been made missing when they are actually available. If we click on the number to the left of the 2017 stocktake, we can see that the sections have a status of scanning and none of the sections seem to have had anything scanned into them. All the shelved OK counts are currently 0. I will not be able to use this stocktake as a previous stocktake for comparisons. This 2017 stocktake doesn't seem to have progressed very far at all and could actually be deleted. Click List to get back to the stocktake Browse list. Now if we check the sections in the 2015 stocktake, I can see that the stocktake has a section for each of the collections I plan to stocktake this year, except for the manga and graphic novels and the library office collections, which I'll add to this year's stocktake. To create a new stocktake, select New from the Stocktake function menu or click the New button. Give the stocktake a meaningful description, for example 2019 Junior School Stocktake. If the stocktake is going to be for one collection only, it would make sense to make the stocktake name reflect this. You then have the option to set a default previous stocktake for sections. It is not mandatory that you select a previous stocktake here. The setting is designed to save you time if the majority of sections in your stocktake are going to have the same previous stocktake. I will select 2015 Junior School Stocktake. Next, you select whether you would like the stocktake to automatically create sections based on the previous stocktake or whether you would like to manually add them. Again, this just saves you time. We'll leave Use Sections from Previous Stocktake set to Yes and then click Add. The 2019 Junior School Stocktake is created and sections are pre-populated from the 2015 Junior School Stocktake. I'm going to add a section for manga and graphic novels and LibreOffice collections. To add a section to the Stocktake manually, click the Add Section button. The Stocktake section details specify the part of the library catalogue that you intend to include in the Stocktake. You can optionally select a branch, collection, and classification from and to range. You can select a branch or leave the branch blank to include resources from all branches. You can select a collection or leave the collection blank to include resources from all collections. The classification from and to fields allow you to specify a classification range for the section. If you plan to Stocktake the entire collection, then simply leave the classification from and to range blank. Leaving the range blank means that all classifications for the selected branch and collection will be included in the section. The classification range can be used to divide a large collection if you will not be stocktaking the entire collection, or if you need to divide the collection into sections to allow for separate reporting. For example, you could split a large fiction collection up into sections. Entering a classification range from F space A to F space AZZ would cover all resources within that range. You could split a non-fiction collection into 9 sections as seen on the slide. A classification range from 0 to 099.999 would include all copies with classifications greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 099.999, including any suffixes that follow. Another example of where the classification range might be used is if you have catalogued resources with your own classifications. You might have a large textbook collection where you have added the subject to the classification, for example, chemistry or physics. A from classification range of chemistry, leaving the to classification field blank, will perform a search for all classifications beginning with chemistry. Alternatively, if the from and to classification fields contain the same term, such as physics in the example on the slide, then only classifications equal to that value will be included. If you are going to divide a collection into sections using the classification range, it would be a good idea to run a shelf check by classification report against the entire collection first, to make sure that by using the classification ranges you plan to use, you will not be excluding any copies in the collection from the Stocktake. I'll open a shelf check by classification report that I ran previously for the junior fiction collection. The report is sorted by classification, and strictly speaking, this is the order the book should appear on the shelf. Note that the JF you see at the front of the classification in this report is the collection code from the collection setup. It is not coming from the actual classification field on the copy. At the top of the report you can see some copies that do not have the F in the classification data. If I split the fiction collection into ranges between F space A and F space ZZZ, I'll be excluding these copies at the top of the report that are blank or don't begin with F space. I'll also be excluding these at the end of the report and other copies that seem to have a non-fiction classification range. It would be a good exercise to correct the classifications on these copies prior to the Stocktake. You could move non-fiction copies to the non-fiction collection and tidy up the data on the fiction items. The consistency of the data is not important for the Stocktake if you plan to have one section for the entire collection and don't specify a collection range. Next we'll look at the shelf check by classification report for the junior non-fiction collection. Again, JNF is the collection code and is not present in the classification field. At the top of the report you will note that there are 12 copies with classifications that are outside the non-fiction classification ranges. Using the example classification ranges for non-fiction on the slide, will mean that the Stocktake will not be expecting these copies to be scanned into any of the non-fiction sections. The collection and/or classification on these copies should be corrected. If the classifications are correct and the fiction copies should remain shelved with the non-fiction collection, create a separate section that will cover these items only. Do not create an overlapping catch-all section. Overlapping sections result in inaccurate reporting and other possible issues. Similarly with fiction, create classifications where necessary to create a Stocktake section to cater for fiction items on either side of the Fiction A to Fiction ZZZ ranges you specify. Take care not to create overlapping sections. We'll select a branch of junior and a collection of manga and graphic novels. I will be stocktaking the entire collection, so we'll leave the classification range blank. The previous Stocktake is defaulting to 2015 Junior School Stocktake because that is what we selected to be the default when we created the Stocktake. As the manga and graphic novels collection was not included in the 2015 Stocktake, I will blank out the previous Stocktake field on this section. Take extra care that you select the correct previous Stocktake when you add a section. As per the screen message, the value cannot be changed after saving the section. You would need to delete and recreate the section if you specified an incorrect previous Stocktake. Click Save. Click the Stocktake button to return to the Stocktake Details page. I'll click Add Section again and add a section for Branch, Junior and Collection Library Office. I won't specify a classification range, and I will blank out the previous Stocktake again. I then click Save and click the Stocktake button to return to the Stocktake Details page again. We now have a Stocktake with 9 sections. You will note that all the sections have a section status of scanning. The Stocktake section summary counts are currently all 0, as nothing has been processed yet. We'll take a look at what these are. The shelved OK copies are copies that have been scanned and the branch, collection and classification are correct for the Stocktake section. Off-shelf copies are copies that have a status rule that mean that they are off-shelf, for example, copies that are on loan. Misshelved copies are copies that have been scanned into the section, but the branch, collection and/or classification is incorrect for the section. Or, if you specified that copies have been scanned in shelf order, then these could be copies that have been scanned out of order. Unscanned copies are copies that have not yet had their barcode scanned into the Stocktake section. Missing or disposed copies are copies that are covered by the section range but have a missing or disposed status or have been weeded or weeded and purged since the previous Stocktake. When you click the Process All button at Stocktake level or the Process button at Stocktake section level, the Stocktake process checks and calculates the section summary counts based on the catalogue in its present state. I'll click Process All at Stocktake level now. Click the Stocktake button to get back to the Stocktake level. Then click Process All. We are asked the question, did you scan in shelf order? I recommend answering no to this prompt to avoid getting too many messages about items being scanned out of order. It might be useful to answer yes if you are absolutely sure that items were scanned in shelf order and you are wanting to reshelve items that are out of order. I'll click No. At the top of the page we see a message that the section is currently processing. When processing is complete, the Stocktake sections have a section status of processed. Section summary counts have been updated and Stocktake messages have been created or updated. You can click on the section summary links to see the items that make up each of the counts. If I click on Off Shelf in the Manga and Graphic Novels section, the Stocktake section details page opens and displays the copies, or one copy in this case, that makes up the count. We can see that a copy of Treasure Island is currently on loan. Items that are on loan when the Stocktake is started are considered seen by the Stocktake. The Stocktake does not expect you to scan these copies in. Section summary counts are displayed on this page too. If I click on Unscanned, we can see the 3 copies that need to be scanned into this section. If these copies are not scanned into the section and the section is finalized, these copies will be made missing. I'll click on Stocktake to get back to the Stocktake level. 21 copies are unscanned in the Library Office section. In the reference section, we can see that one item is missing or disposed. The Stocktake message displays, "Weeded before Stocktake was processed." This message is for information only. You do not have to do anything about it. If I click on Missing or Disposed in the Fiction section, there are 2 items with a Stocktake message, "Missing before Stocktake was processed." We can click on the number to the left of the Stocktake message to display the Stocktake copy details. Clicking on the barcode on this page opens the copy details page. We can see the status of copy is missing, and the status reason indicates that the copy was made missing when the 2015 Stocktake was finalized. The status reason reads, "This copy was not scanned in the Stocktake when its status was available." The date displayed is the date that the 2015 Stocktake was finalized. Again, this message is for information only. You do not have to do anything about it. We'll go back to the Stocktake. The main thing we need to do now is scan in as many of the unscanned copies as possible. We don't want to finalize any sections until we are satisfied that we have found and scanned as many copies as possible for each section. Multiple users can scan or import barcodes into a section at the same time. There are 2 ways to add barcodes to a Stocktake section. You can scan barcodes directly into the Stocktake, or you can import barcodes into a section from a text document. We'll take a look at each method. To scan a barcode indirectly, click on the number to the left of the Stocktake section that the copies need to be scanned into. In this case, Manga and Graphic Novels. Click the Scan Barcodes button. We can now scan barcodes into the barcode box. If the Auto Return checkbox is ticked, then if any items I scan are currently on loan in the Oliver system, these will be returned and made available. This scenario could happen if an item was returned to the shelf without being returned through the circulation desk first. As we are scanning the items indirectly, I can be pretty sure that the copy is not on loan, so I will leave the Auto Return checkbox ticked. We'll scan the barcodes. The shelved OK message is good. The copy has been scanned into the Stocktake correctly. Here we can see that a copy of Sport has been misshelved. The message states wrong collection, and we can see that the collection on the copy is picture books. The message displays the copy's actual branch, collection, and classification. We have scanned it into the Manga and Graphic Novels collection. If the copy belongs on the picture book shelf, I can put this copy aside and deal with it later. Or I could move it to picture book shelf right now. If the copy should actually have a collection of manga and graphic novels, I need to update the collection on the copy record. I will demonstrate updating the copy record now. Click Finish to exit the Scan Barcodes page. If you navigate away from the Scan Barcodes entry page, you should always click Finish. If you don't, you will leave a lock on the Stocktake section for the next 15 minutes. When we exit out of that screen, we can see that the section summary counts have been updated on the section. We now have 1 shelved OK, 1 off shelf, 1 misshelved, and 2 unscanned. Click on the numbers to the left of the misshelved Stocktake message to display the Stocktake copy details. Click on the barcode link to display the copy details. Edit the record and change the collection to be manga and graphic novels, and then click Save. Now we'll navigate back to Manga and Graphic Novels Stocktake section. The misshelved message still remains. If we click Process on the Stocktake section now, we can see that the misshelved message is gone and we now have 2 shelved OK copies. We needed to process the section for the counts to be recalculated and the messages to be updated. We can scan in some more barcodes now. Click the Scan Barcode button. A copy of Dreams is also misshelved. This time I will scan the copy into Picture Book's Stocktake section and put the book aside to reshelve later. Exit out of the Scan Barcode mode. Click on Stocktake and click on the number against the Picture Book Stocktake section. Click Scan Barcodes. Scan the item and click Finish to get out of the Scan Barcodes mode. Click on Stocktake and click on the number against Manga and Graphic Novels to go back to this section. The misshelved message remains. Clicking Process or Process All in this instance will not clear the misshelved message. You can either delete the message manually or just leave it there. Leaving it there will not have any effect on the Stocktake results. To delete a Stocktake message, click on Misshelved to display the message. Click on the number to the left of the message to display the Stocktake copy details. Then click the Delete button and click OK to the prompt. We'll scan the remaining barcode. Click Scan Barcodes. Barcode not found is another message you might see. This means that the barcode you scanned does not exist in the catalogue. This could be because the copy was not catalogued before it was shelved, the copy may have been weeded, the barcode might not have scanned correctly, or the ISBN was scanned instead of the barcode. In this instance, we'll catalogue the copy. Click Finish to exit out of the scan mode. For now, I'll add a copy to an existing title, Captain Congo and the Crocodile King. However, you might need to catalogue the title and copy if this happens in your system. Now we'll go back to the Stocktake. Click on the number to the left of the section. Click Error Copies to see the error message. Now if we click Process on the Stocktake section, we can see that the copy is now shelved OK. When we carry out an action outside of the Stocktake against copies that are covered by the Stocktake, such as updating the copy record collection, issuing a loan from the circulation desk, cataloguing or weeding a copy, we need to click Process on the section or Process All on the Stocktake for the system to be able to redo checks and calculations and update the Stocktake messages. I will demonstrate what happens when a copy is returned through the circulation desk during the Stocktake. I will return the off-shelf item in this section. If we click on Stocktake so that the counts can be refreshed, you will note that the Stocktake has been updated. The copy is no longer on loan. We now have 6 shelved OK copies. If we click on the number to the left of the Stocktake section and click All Copies, You will note the message has changed to shelved OK, returned was on loan. We'll loan the copy out again. Now we'll refresh the Stocktake summary counts by navigating back to the Stocktake level. This time there are no changes to the Stocktake messages and counts, as the copy has already been seen by the Stocktake and no further tracking is required. The advantage of direct scanning is that the barcode is immediately accounted for by the Stocktake. As each barcode is scanned, it is processed by the Stocktake and a message relating to the barcode entry is displayed. Any messages that need to be dealt with can be dealt with straight away. For example, misshelved items can be corrected or reshelved immediately or put aside to be dealt with later. The file method involves scanning barcodes for the section into a plain text document and then importing the file into the section. You can wheel a laptop around the library and scan barcodes directly into the text file, or you can use a portable scanner which produces a text file when the scanner is returned to its base station. It depends on what resources you have available to you. You can load multiple barcode files into each Stocktake section. On a Windows workstation, you can scan barcodes into a plain text file such as Notepad. Do not use Microsoft Word or WordPad, as these are not plain text files. They contain added formatting that will result in problems. On a Mac computer, you can use the text editor. To open Notepad, click on the Windows Startup button and then start typing the word Notepad. The Notepad application will appear and you can select it. I'll scan some barcodes for the small posters collection. Make sure there is one barcode per line and the cursor finishes up on the line below your last barcode. Save the selection to a file you know you will find again and give it a meaningful name. We will save it to the Junior School Stocktake 2019 folder and call it Posters with today's date. Now we'll import the file into the Posters section of the Stocktake. Click on the number to the left of the Posters section. Click the Import Barcodes button and decide whether to tick the Auto Return button or not. If it has been some time since you scanned the barcodes to the file and there is a chance that the barcodes may since have been loaned out, then don't tick this box. Doing so will return the loans. If you have stopped circulating or you know that these items have not been loaned out, then you can tick the Auto Return box. I will tick the box because I know that I have not circulated these items. Browse to the file you need to load. Select the file and click the Upload button. The Stocktake summary counts show that we have 4 shelved OK items as expected. I'm going to load Notepad files for the remaining Stocktake sections now. Click on Stocktake and click on the number to the left of LibraryOffice. Click the Import button and browse to the file to load. Click the Auto Return checkbox and click Update and then click Stocktake. Note that the minute we scan items into a section, the section status reverts to scanning. Only sections with a status of processed can be submitted for finalisation. We'd have to process these sections again before they can be finalised. We'll repeat those steps for the other sections. I'll click Process All to process and update messages across all sections. Now we need to check each section to see what error messages need to be dealt with. LibraryOffice and manga and graphic novels are perfect. Toys has one unscanned item. I deliberately left that item to show you what would happen if the copy was loaned out before the item could be scanned or imported into the Stocktake. I'll issue the item to scan and override all the warning messages. If I click on Stocktake again, we can see that the counts have not changed. I will click on Process on the Toys section. After processing the section, we can see that the item has been added to the off-shelf count. The reference section looks fine. The picture book section has 15 unscanned copies. I'll click on the unscanned link to view the copies. Some of the messages show unscanned only, indicating that the item has not been scanned. However, some of the messages say unscanned was scanned in a different section, junior fiction. This means that the copy was scanned into the section with branch junior and collection junior fiction. It is very important that these items be scanned into the correct section. In this instance, they are expected to be in the picture book section. Currently, any copies that have unscanned against them, even if they have been scanned in a different section, will be added to the items missing for period count of the Stocktake summary report. They may also be made missing if the Stocktake is finalised. If the collection on the copy record is wrong, the copy record needs to be corrected. Otherwise, we need to locate these items on the shelf in the junior fiction collection and scan them into the picture book section. I don't have time to find these copies, but I am satisfied that they are in the library because I can see they have been scanned into junior fiction. I am therefore going to cheat and create a text document that contains these copies and import it into picture books. This will prevent the copies being made missing by the Stocktake and will ensure the Stocktake summary report does not incorrectly report on these copies as being missing. We'll need to take a few steps to create a text document for these items. You can report on items for the unscanned summary count by clicking on Unscanned, then click on List. You may need to click a link between the navigation buttons at the top of the page to expand the search results. In this case, we don't have to. Now select Report from the Stocktake function menu. We'll select the first catalogue report and run it to Excel. Download the report and open it. We need to make sure that the text document does not include barcodes that are only unscanned and have not yet been scanned into the Stocktake at all. We'll get rid of the heading lines by highlighting them, right-clicking the highlighted area, then selecting Delete. Now we can sort the data by Stocktake status. Highlight the status column by clicking in the header cell of column D. Then select Sort and Filter, Sort A to Z. Make sure the sort warning is set to expand the selection. This will ensure the lines stay ordered together and don't become muddled. Then click Sort. We can then copy and paste the barcodes of the lines with the unscanned was scanned in a different section message into a notepad document and save this. To do this, highlight the barcodes, right-click and select Copy. Open Notepad, right-click and paste the barcodes into Notepad. Select File, Save, and enter a name for the file, for example, Picture Books, Misshelved, and the date. Now we'll load the file into the picture book section of the Stocktake. Navigate back to Cataloguing Stocktake. Click on the number to the left of the 2019 Stocktake. Click on the number to the left of Picture Books. Click Import Barcodes and browse to the file to load and select it. Tick Auto Return if you are happy no copies have been loaned out since scanning the barcodes, and then click Upload. The copies are now shelved OK, and only 5 unscanned copies remain that we need to find. Junior Fiction has 10 misshelved copies. I already know that these are the 10 copies we just imported into the Picture Books collection. You may wish to report on these items, find them and reshelve them correctly. This is the disadvantage of importing barcodes from a text file. It can be difficult to go back and locate these barcodes now in shelf order to reshelve them. Using the direct scanning method, we would have seen that the barcode was misshelved immediately after scanning it, and we could have put the copy aside. You don't have to do anything about the misshelved messages. They will not have any effect on the Stocktake figures. You do have to do what you can about unscanned messages. There are no unscanned copies in this section. The audiovisual section looks fine. In Junior Nonfiction, we still have 101 unscanned copies. We need to locate these and scan them in. If you have been unable to find them in the library, you may want to run a report of the items and send it to the teachers. Ask them to look out for items in their classrooms. To run a report of unscanned items in a section, click on the Unscanned link and click List. Select Report from the Stocktake function menu. Select and run the Stocktake Unscanned Items report. Download the report. We'll return to the Stocktake and look at the Posters section. The Posters section is fine. We'll click Process All on the Stocktake. If you manage to locate unscanned copies from any of the sections, you can return to the Stocktake section and scan the barcodes in or import them. I will import some barcodes we managed to track down to the Junior Nonfiction section. Click on the number to the left of the Junior Nonfiction section. Click Import Barcodes. Browse to the file you need to load and tick Auto Return if the copies won't have been reissued. Click Upload. Now there are only 3 unscanned copies. Click Stocktake and we'll click the Process All to process all sections. We'll have a look at a few more messages you might see during the Stocktake. We'll go to the Junior Nonfiction section and scan a missing item into the Stocktake. A message is displayed, Shelved OK. Item is now available, was missing. The status on the copy record will have been changed to available immediately. Click Finish and click Stocktake. There are now 6 missing or disposed records in this section. We'll scan a missing copy through the circulation desk. A message displays on the circulation desk that the item's status was previously missing and has now been changed to available. We'll close the circulation desk and come back to Stocktake. We'll then click Process All. We can see that the missing or disposed count has changed from 6 to 5. However, note that the unscanned count has gone from 3 to 4. Although the missing copy was scanned through the circulation desk, it still needs to be scanned into Stocktake. Only returned loans and loans issues are seen by the Stocktake. We'll scan the copy in now. We'll click Stocktake and process all again. Now I'll scan the barcode of a junior non-fiction book that is currently on loan and also has a reserve on it. Click on the number to the left of junior non-fiction and click Scan Barcodes. Scan the item. A message is displayed: Shelved OK. Item status is on loan. On loan return via circulation desk. The reason we're told to return the copy via the circulation desk is because of the reservation processing that needs to take place for Willow Adams. When you are satisfied that you have scanned as many copy records as possible into the Stocktake and have reduced the unscanned numbers on each section as much as possible, you are ready to run the Stocktake summary reports. It is very important that you run the Stocktake summary reports prior to finalizing the Stocktake. This way you can query any concerns you have before committing any changes to the database. Click Process All prior to running a Stocktake summary report so that you can be sure the figures reflect the latest processing. Then click the Summary Reports button. There are a number of Stocktake summary reports available that you can use to check the outcome of the Stocktake. The reports offer different levels of detail. If summary information is required at section level, then you can select one of the by section reports. If not, a Stocktake summary report covering the Stocktake as a whole can be selected. I'll use a Stocktake summary with cost report. Click on the report, click Go, and download the report. At the top of the report, we can see that 0 of 9 sections have been finalised. We selected the 2015 Junior School Stocktake as the previous Stocktake when we created this one. The start date and end dates of the 2015 Stocktake are displayed. The start date of the current Stocktake is displayed. As we have not yet finalised any sections, there is no end date. Otherwise, the end date of the most recently finalised section would be displayed. The opening stock figure is a count of items that belong in the current Stocktake that were counted in the closing stock of the previous Stocktake. An item belongs in the current Stocktake if the branch, collection, and classification match a section in the Stocktake. The figure no longer directly uses the closing stock of the previous Stocktake because the sections do not always match between Stocktakes. The value will be 0 if no previous Stocktake was selected. The figure counts copies which have been weeded or purged since the previous Stocktake. The figure does not include items in the closing stock of the previous Stocktake where the branch, collection, and/or classification have changed so that they are no longer in the current Stocktake range. Additions are a count of items that have been accessioned since the previous Stocktake was processed. This figure includes copies that were already in the catalogue if they did not meet the criteria of any sections in the previous Stocktake, but have been changed so that they do now. For example, we added Library Office and manga and graphic novels collections to the 2019 Stocktake. If the copies were already in the catalogue during the 2015 Stocktake, but the collections were simply not included during the Stocktake, then the copies will form part of the additions figure in this report. Items recovered are count of copies that have a status of weeding or disposed during the previous Stocktake, but were found and scanned during this Stocktake. It also includes copies that have been restored from archive since the previous Stocktake. An item is missing for period if its status has changed to missing since the previous Stocktake was finalised. This figure includes copies that are unscanned in the current Stocktake that will be made missing when the section is finalised. Earlier we dealt with unscanned copies in the picture fiction section that had been scanned into the junior fiction section. The message we saw on the Stocktake copy record was unscanned, was scanned in a different section, junior fiction. Please note that currently, if the copies are not scanned into the correct section and the unscanned section summary count continues to include these copies, then the items missing for period figure will include copies that were scanned into the wrong section of the Stocktake. This will affect the closing stock balance and as a result the opening stock and items recovered in the next Stocktake. Where possible, please take care to scan these items into the correct section of the Stocktake. Disposed is a count of copies that were included in the opening stock or have been added since the previous Stocktake was finalised, but have subsequently had their status changed to disposed or have been weeded. Closing stock is simply the opening stock plus net additions, less net deductions. The cost and price values in the report are only reliable if these figures have been consistently added to the copies in your Oliver system. If you would like to check which copies make up the different figures in the summary report, you can run a Stocktake summary with items report. For example, I'll search for items recovered. We can see the 30 copies that are included in the figure, one of them being B995. We'll now search for B995 in the Stocktake. Click Search. You could refine the search, but I'm going to search across all Stocktakes and only search for the barcode B995. 4 Stocktake copy records are displayed. If we click on the number to the left of the first one, you can see that the item was shelved OK in the 2019 Stocktake. If we proceed to the next record, we can see that the item was unscanned in 2017. But more importantly, if we proceed to the next record, we can see that it was unscanned in 2015, which was our selected previous Stocktake for the junior non-fiction section. The copy has been recovered in this Stocktake. When you have scanned as many unscanned items as possible, and when you are comfortable with the figures in the reports, you can finalise the Stocktake. Unscanned copies are made missing during the finalisation process. You can click Finalise All on the Stocktake Details page to finalise all the sections. Or you can click Finalise on the Stocktake Section Details page to finalise one section only. Only sections with section status of Processed will be submitted for finalisation. I'll click Finalise All. After clicking Finalise All, we can see that all the sections now have a status of Submitted. The finalise process does not happen immediately. As it is a resource-intensive process, it is scheduled for the next housekeeping run. You can click Cancel All Pending Finalisations on the Stocktake Details page or Cancel Pending Finalisation on the Stocktake section page to cancel the pending finalisations for all or just one section respectively. You might need to do this if you have clicked Finalise in error or changed your mind about finalising. For the purpose of this webinar, we will force the finalise process to go through now. When we return to the 2019 Stocktake, we can see that 9 of 9 sections have been finalised. If we navigate to a Stocktake section details page, you can see that it is no longer possible to scan, import, or process the section. The Stocktake is now complete. It is possible to reopen a Stocktake if required. However, this should be avoided. Reopening the junior non-fiction section will change the section summary figures. The 3 copies that were unscanned and that would have been made missing during the finalised process would be added to the missing or disposed count, and the unscanned count would become 0. The copies would still correctly be reported on in the Items Missing for Period section of the Stocktake Summary Report. Parameter 2420 determines whether the Reopen button is available or for how long it will be available. A blank value means that there is no limit. 0 means it is never available. If set to 1, the button would be available for 24 hours after the finalise has completed. If set to 2, it would be available for 48 hours, and so on. After finalising the Stocktake, you can rerun the Stocktake summary reports for completion. We'll run the Stocktake summary report with cost again. The report now displays that 9 of 9 sections have been finalised, and where there was no end date before, there is now an end date on the report for the current Stocktake. Although you can run the Stocktake summary reports prior to finalising the Stocktake, it is very important to finalise a Stocktake once it's complete to ensure a reliable data set for future Stocktake comparisons. Now we will take a look at how you can search for copies that were made missing in a Stocktake. There are two ways. You can run a report of unscanned items from the Stocktake as follows. Click on the Stocktake search button. Set Stocktake to the 2019 Stocktake. Blank out all the fields on the template and click Search All Fields. Click the 1000 plus link between the navigation buttons to expand the search results if necessary. We don't have to do this. Then select Report from the Stocktake function menu. Run the Stocktake Unscanned Items report. Download the report. From there you can see there are 8 items in the report. The second way is to search for the copies from Cataloguing Copies. First, we'll take a look at the changes to the copy record when a copy is made missing in the Stocktake. I'll click on the unscanned link in the Junior Non-Fiction section summary. Click on the number to the left of the first copy to display the Stocktake copy details. Click on the barcode link to open the copy details page. The copy status is missing, and the status reason has been populated with the finalisation date, the 15th of July 2019, and some text. This copy was not scanned in the Stocktake when its status was available. You can perform a search for all copies were made missing like this. Navigate to Cataloguing Copies. Select the Junior branch. Type in the following any word search. From here we can see the same 8 records, and we could report on the items using one of the existing copy reports. That is all we are going to cover in this webinar. There is a comprehensive Stocktake guide accessible from Oliver V5 Integrated Help. As always, you are welcome to contact SoftLink support team if you have any questions.